I'm taking Trump to court, sues over National Guard deployment in LA.
That sounds so ridiculous, since what the Governor Newsom has done subjects him probably to a 10-year sentence in a federal penitentiary.
So he says Gavin Newsom is following up with his threat to sue President Trump over the deployment of the National Guard to Los Angeles because California governor just filed a case against POTUS over it. Newsom and the state of California are suing Trump, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and the U.S. Department of Defense over what Newsom says are illegal actions to deploy members of the California National Guard. Does he have?
Do you think that President Eisenhower waited until Governor Faubus gave him permission to send the 101st down to Little Rock in 1956? Do you think that President Truman, President Roosevelt, President Hoover, they asked for the governor's permission before they sent in Army troops to break up railroad strikes? Do you think that President Grant waited for a Southern governor to give him permission to send in the U.S. Army to break up some mess going on with the Klan and the Night Riders in the 1870s? Come on now. You've got a long history. What do you think's been going on in the country? Look at what, I mean, where do these people find themselves? Under what rock have they been squirming?
So it says,
and they're lucky. See, here's the thing. I mentioned to our guest about them filing the action 70 far leftists down in Florida trying to get Bondi disbarred down in Florida for being too aggressive. The point is they are, look at smoke and flames coming up. See that we don't need any more of that. We had 4 years of that with that George Floyd nonsense, and this idiot right here going around telling people to break car windows and storefront windows if somebody supported another candidate. And what did she say? Was it, I don't think it was you and I, it was me and Valerie Denise were doing this thing, and she was out there hollering to the homeless, you need to go home instead of embarrassing people. Somebody said, fool, that's why we're out here. We don't have any homes to go to. What's wrong with you?
uh-huh.
See, that kind of rank stupidity.
Yeah, so
look at the flames. What are you supposed to do with this? Just say, oh, they're just letting off some steam. What kind of nonsense is that?
So Gavin Newsom says that Trump had no authority to deploy the California National Guard. Is that true?
No, it's not. He can nationalize the National Guard when the law permits. The law permits. He has the right under the existing laws to protect other federal agents in doing their job. What happens if the FBI gets overwhelmed? I'm not a fan of the FBI, but what happens if they get overwhelmed? What happens if the Secret Service gets overwhelmed? You just let them get done in, or do you send the Army in, or the National Guard, or bring in the Army Reserves?
So he says that the statute the president invoked clearly requires the action to go through the governor.
It does not. The governor may be part of the problem. The historical context is the governor of Arkansas stood in the doorway of Little Rock High School and said, as long as I'm governor of Arkansas, there will not be a Negro that sets foot in a Little Rock High School. Do I make myself clear? So what happens when the governor is part of the problem? Did you ask him, look, please be reasonable, man. You're really making a mess here. Can you just stand down on this one? No, I'm not standing down. There ain't going to be no diggers that gets up in Little Rock High School.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, the governor, what happens when the governor is part of the problem? Which he is. See, all that George Floyd nonsense, BLM nonsense, where it was okay to do billions of dollars worth of property damage, seriously jeopardize people's physical well-being because you felt emotional, but you get all bent out of shape and try to call it an insurrection when nothing got burned, just a few little pieces of property got damaged. It's about 180 folk, some of whom did a lightweight criminal trespass thing, and you want to start locking people up for years as though they are international terrorists. What's wrong with you people?
So this is Trump, because he's now suggesting that, hey, maybe Governor Newsom should be arrested. Let me play this.
It should be. If you read Title 8, 1324, he's broken all kinds of portions of that code.
Let me play.
Jerry Tom Holman is becoming arrested. Should he do it? I would do it because I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it's a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
So Trump says it would be a great thing if Newsom was arrested.
Yeah, and see, he can get out of the loop. All that has to happen is for a federal grand jury to be convened, and they can have their secret proceedings and issue indictments. While we whoopee.
So there also have been now some protests popping up in Dallas, and then there were protests popped up in New York. And I have a feeling that, this is orchestrated by the Democrats, and they're going to start having igniting these protests popping up throughout the nation throughout the summer. I did a space, me and Peter did a space last night. And I said that I wouldn't be surprised if the Democrats plan to have multiple riots in major cities across this nation, right?
Just like with BLM and George Floyd.
Yes. And then, of course, legacy media, the CNN, MSNBC, those liberal medias are going to say Red Summer. And they're going to try and compare it to, again, Black suffering of 1919 Red Summer, because they like to do that. It's definitely not the same, but they're going to use that to say, this is what they're doing to the Hispanics, the Mexicans.
Did you see the little blurb that's been going around about the LA County Art Museum?
No, I didn't see that.
The mayor of Los Angeles is on the board of directors. So they've got video of the bags of nice throw-size rocks and concrete blocks and bricks and other stuff right in back of the museum in a bin area where they could be reached by protesters. They had been commenting for quite some time over the fact that somebody doing the organizing was putting in concrete blocks, bricks, broken up stones and stuff, baseball sized, and there's no construction in the area, but this stuff would be getting stockpiled a week before some demonstration occurred. And you go on BLM's site and they advertise, we organize, provide transportation and communication for protests and demonstrations. See, they should be indicted for what they're doing because they're organizing criminal activity.
Absolutely.
They advertise it on their site.
So I want to bring this up, right? Because I did not know that the BET Awards were on tonight. And I know you don't care.
I don't care.
No, and I don't care either because this is boring anyway, right? But we talked about Dolce before, and she won an award, right? And she took the time, and I want to play a clip of her speech, but she took the time during her acceptance speech to quote unquote shame Trump for the ICE raids. Where's the clip? Here we go, right here. Give me a sec. Okay, so this is her. Let me make this bigger.
Do want to address what's happening.
Give me a second.
Do want to address what's happening right now outside of the building. There are ruthless attacks that are creating fear and chaos in our communities in the name of law and order. Trump is using military forces to stop a protest. And I want y'all to consider what kind of government it appears to be when every time we exercise our democratic right to protest, the military is deployed against us. What type of government is that? People are being swept up and torn from their families, and I feel it's my responsibility as an artist to use this moment to speak up for all oppressed people, for Black people, for Latino people, for trans people, for the people in Gaza. We all deserve to live in hope and not in fear, and I hope we stand together, my brothers and my sisters, against hate, and we protest against it. Thank you, BT.
Who is she? Never heard of her.
Yeah, she's a rapper. We talked about her. We talked about her a couple of months ago. She won a Grammy, and I forgot why we talked about her, but it had to do with, because you know how sometimes I do a little bit celebrity thing. So we did talk about her a couple months ago. I forgot, but she's the it girl in the hip hop industry. But yeah. And this is the problem I have with young people of today, where they're not fully aware, because ICE did not just decide, okay, let's just go and arrest Latinos and Hispanics just because. They have a job to do.
Latinos and Hispanics quite often, frequently over the last year, who are all for what Trump does. They're good Americans. They don't like it.
Right. And so she doesn't understand that a lot of people that voted for Trump to do exactly what he's doing.
I'm glad I did.
Yes. I voted for him to do what he's doing. He's doing his job.
Crazy, ineffective, just disorder in all of the big cities that are turning them into islands of chaos and poison.
And so they pick these artists, and somebody put industry plant. Yeah, they call them industry plants, to get up on the stage and to push that agenda of the left and the liberals or the Democrats or whatever, to push against. And I always say this: if you are an entertainer, stay out of politics. Stay out of politics. That is not your genre. So, and then young people who just don't know no better, because they don't know. So they're listening to the BS and they don't even know the real facts. People are here illegally. We had an open border. So the millions of people that was here, are we supposed to just let them stay here? Benito Gonzalez Jr., he's been a long time listener here when we do the shows. And he says, yes, those are our lands, talking about California. California has not been part of Mexico for centuries. It's not your land anymore. And if it is, come and get it. Do you want to give us a quick history on how California became the property of the United States, Judge?
Yeah, but you know what that sounds like? It's kind of unfair and it's racist. Not what he said, but the whole proposition. That's like if you are European and you're from Germany, you're supposed to support Germany over the United States. If you're from France, you're supposed to support France over the United States. If you're from Denmark, you're supposed to support Denmark over the United States. You see, in other words, people become citizens of various and sundry places. I was just reading about a British hero. He became a general. He was going to law school. He lied about his age, enlisted in the British Army before the 20th century hit. He dropped out of law school. He got wounded 4 times. His daddy got mad at him for running off, but he stayed in the Army. World War I, he got shot in the eye and then kept going and got shot. His left ear got shot off. This is all in the same action. And then on another one, he got wounded by a shell which damaged some of his fingers. And he said, just cut them off. I'm going back into action. So the doctor wouldn't cut his fingers off. He ripped them off himself, lost a hand due to amputation, and wore an eye patch with one hand, and got shot 8 or 9 more times. And he's one hell of a badass, you know.
But how did California?
But see, he was from Belgium. He was a naturalized English citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So where you choose to live has a lot to do with your situation, but you follow the rules.
How did California
became? Oh, how did that happen? Okay. What happened is in Sutter's Mill, California, 1848, gold was discovered. That prompted a gold rush. San Francisco got set up. A lot of places like that got set up. Los Angeles got set up. Interestingly enough, the first mayor of Los Angeles was a black man, but he was a Hispanic black. And then there was this thing down in Texas where Texas decided they were going to become independent of Mexico. And then there were a number of battles that were fought in the Mexican-American War. And Grant and some other future American generals achieved some success there. And the United States beat the Mexican Navy in a sea battle, and they wound up conquering Texas, and they got California. And in 1851, California became a state. So same thing basically with Texas. Sutter's Mill outside of Sacramento, California. They discovered gold. There was a gold rush. Also, shortly before that, the Texans had decided that they wanted to secede from Mexico and become part of the United States eventually. So wound up having the Mexican-American War. The United States beat the Mexican Navy in a sea battle off the California coast. We won the Mexican-American War. A number of future famous American generals got their start down there. Ulysses Grant, Sherman, such like McClellan. And we wound up getting California, which became a state in 1851. Then we got Arizona, New Mexico. We got Texas. And by right of conquest and acquisition, Louisiana Purchase and a number of other things, the country expanded from one coast to the other. So I was mentioning that's what happened with ancient Rome. It started off as one little ramshackle village, and then it spread to 7 villages on the hills of Rome, the 7 hills of Rome. Then they spread to southern Italy. Then they spread all throughout Italy. And then they became part of the biggest empire in the known world. And by the 2nd century AD, Rome had more citizens than the United States did up until the end of the 1960s. So, I mean, that's the way stuff works.
Wait a minute. So Mexico didn't fight the United States for California? We just took it.
They did, but they lost.
Okay, what war was that? What battle was that?
Mexican-American War.
Okay, so the Mexican-American War, that's when we draw the line. Where is that now?
Kind of, sort of. We had already gotten the Louisiana Purchase.
Right.
And we bought, and get this, upon application of what's going on with Iceland and Greenland and so forth right now, we bought Alaska from the Russians. They sold it to us. And we got Hawaii by invitation and by might.
So Somebody
By the
put
way, if
here,
you ever get to Honolulu, there's a huge statue that's black and gold of the last High King of Hawaii, Kamalea, I think is his name. And when you read the brass plaque, you find out the statue is not an exaggeration. He was like 7 feet 6 inches tall, and he wound up meeting Queen Victoria and President Theodore Roosevelt.
who are you talking about?
The last High King of Hawaii, he was 7 feet 6 inches tall.
So it says here, is it true that Spain owned Mexico briefly, then got California and paid them for it? I don't get it.
Spain settled the New World before anybody did. They were one of the world's first international empires
Okay.
that spread beyond Europe. The first big empire past Rome.
Okay.
So they controlled South America, most of North America, and a lot of the Pacific Islands.
Okay.
And that included California, Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas.
Oh, cool.